So today I want to talk about that aha moment in our lives when it occurred to us and something happened that made a great impression and changed the trajectory of your life to give something your passion. So for me, I'm going to start with that. How many of you have read this? I read this in the 5th grade. It was, dating myself now, 1958. This book was published. I paid 50 cents for it. I'm sure you could buy it for a lot more now. But this is a very popular children's book, and the basic premise of this book is it's all about a little Cocker Spaniel who was the run of the litter and went on to become a very famous show dog. So that piqued my interest completely in the show world and in dogs. And the 5th grade teacher who provided me this book has long since been gone, but I will always remember her. So when I read this book, it produced my interest in starting to get dogs. I never had dog people in my family. My mother wasn't a dog person. My father was definitely not a dog person. And when I became so enamored with dogs, it became sort of a problem because I like to collect the dogs. So it went from the book in the 5th grade to my first dog, which was a collie. And, of course, Lassie was really big back then, so we all wanted a collie. But you know where I got my collie? From the best breeder in Chicago I could find. And, of course, the ears were not done on the collie, but the collie had a really great temperament and was a very pretty collie at the time. And so that was my first dog. Of course, that progressed to poodles, schnauzers, Pekingese, Shibas, anything I could get my hands on. I also grew up in the Chicago area, although I was born in Dallas. So in the Chicago area, there were many dog shows. And so we basically got to go, my parents at least would take me to dog shows, and I learned what I wanted to do when I got older and got a little bit more money to spend because I realized that it was going to cost something to do that. Then it progressed to the breed that I ultimately chose to breed first, which was Maltese. So it went from the book to the dog to the Maltese breed, which I ended up breeding. And these are just a few pictures of, okay, now, you know, back when I was a kid in the 5th grade, you could buy from the Sears catalog a dog that had the long white hair with a brush. So, of course, I gravitated toward that because I've always kind of been about hair, as you could kind of notice. So hair was really important to me. Collies shed a lot. They chewed on corners of cabinets. But basically, Maltese was a beautiful breed that I felt like I could learn how to groom and that I could breed. And they didn't have 10 puppies at a time. So that became my breed. And so I went from being interested in a book, my aha moment, to getting different breeds of dogs to kind of experience, to deciding on what breed I would like to breed. This is probably similar stories to anybody sitting in this room. So then I decided it was time to start showing dogs when I kind of got out on my own as a young person. And of course, I did go to college. I got a degree in education. I taught school for a couple of years, till an Airedale friend of mine decided that it might be more fruitful for me to become a handler. And it definitely was, because my first salary as a school teacher was $7,500 for the year. So that tells you how far back away that was as well. But I was like, oh, I can do this. I can handle dogs. So I had to start out somewhere. And so I started with the Maltese, and of course then I had some children along the way. My first daughter was Tara, who is now one of our AKC executive representatives. So that's her right there beside me, almost beating me under Annie Clark. And very tall person, next tall person, very tiny person. But you can tell how what I did and what I enjoyed kind of sifted down to the offspring. So it's kind of a aha moment that kind of continues. And so then my first Best in Show Maltese I had many after that. His name was Starfire, and he was a really neat little dog. He had beautiful coat, and I groomed him beautifully. He was very balanced on the front and the rear, but he didn't go very far. So learned more about movement, and then my Maltese gradually got better because I realized there was something underneath the coat. I could do the coat beautifully, but they needed to go someplace. So then that progressed into me being a top handler of Maltese, and I got interested in other toy breeds, and since I was good at drop coats, a lot of people hired me to do drop-coated toy breeds, and we did show a few without coats, but Larry ended up showing those. The peak of my career when I won the group at the Garden with a Maltese. So that was really what I thought was the peak of my handling career. And then I decided to become a judge. This is just a picture of me doing Best in Show at the National Dog Show, which was one of the highlights of my judging career. From then on, I was a judge. So started out as an owner, picking the best dog I could find from a breeder. Went on to be a breeder, learned to pick the best dogs out of my litters, went on from there, became a handler, helped other people who bred nice dogs to pick good dogs out of their litters, and then as a judge, you're judging breeding stock, and you're helping these people. You're rewarding the dogs that are the best dogs in the ring, which is basically, in my opinion, helping these people to pick the better dogs in their litters to continue to breed. So there was always a purpose in each step that I took and why I made that decision. All right, so then I had some kiddos. And of course, when you have a passion about something, doesn't it kind of wear off on your kids, or you hope it's going to wear off on your kids? So I had two girls. First one being Tara, that's her in all of these pictures. She didn't want to stay home on the weekends and go to the football games. She wanted to be at the dog show. So she was very competitive and was really good and very competitive in junior showmanship. And that's actually her kind of learning to handle a dog up there. This is my younger daughter holding the puppies. She wasn't really competitive, but she loved the dogs. And I loved the fact that she loved the dogs because she played with them, she cleaned them up, she did everything anybody would do as a dog person, but she just wasn't really competitive. She ended up being a high school teacher, and she went to Baylor as well. And my grandchildren, which I have one granddaughter and one grandson, the granddaughter obviously got enamored with the breed as well when she was younger. So this is my granddaughter. Doing different things with the Maltese other than showing it. The other thing that I found was really interesting in becoming involved in a breed is that you meet a lot of different people, and you find that your dogs can do different things. So not only were my dogs conformation dogs, but I had a lot of instances where a Maltese ended up being a hearing impaired assistant dog to different people. And so these are a couple pictures of my hearing assistant dogs, and also going into schools, going into rest homes, going into different places with our Maltese, because they were so portable, was really a nice thing to do with the breed. The other thing that happened was that when you get interested in dogs, sometimes you find someone else who's interested in dogs. This is really unusual because this is Larry at age 10 or 11, and that's me. So you got the Chicago City girl in her silk pajamas with her collie, and the guy with the overalls on the farm that he grew up on with his collie. Don't they look really similar? It's just really, really weird, but we found these pictures, and I thought it was kind of neat because the collies look very, very similar. But anyway, that does cause you to find people that are also interested in the same thing you're interested in. So I want everybody in the room to kind of think back on when you had your aha moment. What was your aha moment that made you decide to get into this and ultimately brought you here today? In other words, something happened in your life years ago that caused you to have a passion about animals. And in my case, that was dogs, and that's led you to this conference. So basically, you still have that passion. However old you were when you got that aha moment, whether you were in the 5th grade or whether you were in your 20s or whether you got it last week, you basically had that aha moment that somehow brought you into this sport. Everyone's moment will be different than anyone else's in the room, but you will know exactly what that was for each one of you. So I want you to think about that for just a minute. So now that you have that aha moment in mind, how was that moment for you created? Because I want to spend the rest of my time with you here today focused on how to create those aha moments for other people. Because that is what is going to make us larger and unify us in this sport. We're going to have to all come up with different things, which you probably already have since you're here, but I just want to suggest a few things that we have found in our lives that can help these people have aha moments to bring them into this sport, because it can happen at any time. It can be a child, it can be a junior, it can be, someone that just comes and visits your dog show that's actually an adult. So we just need to focus on how to create those moments for others. The challenges that we have for creating these moments for other people is that our sport has been steadily declining, and we know that. So we've got to figure out ways to create that interest. People are overwhelmed with other types of opportunities. I know my grandson, for one, is on a video game all day long, when he's not doing sports. So, that's his life is really busy, so finding time for young people to get involved, even older people to get involved, is sometimes really the difficulty, because we're afforded with so much digital information now. It just affords people so many other opportunities. Negative advertisement about our sport is a problem. We find that we are constantly battling, and obviously I talked to Patty a lot about this, and it's basically we're bombarded with negativity about us, this sport. I mean, I fought it myself when I was growing up. I mean, my parents couldn't totally understand why I'd want to waste my Baylor education on being a dog handler. That took a lot of convincing, but they finally figured it out. Legislation and regulation concerning our owning and our breeding is a big problem, as far as different parts of the country are different in that respect. But we have to understand that a lot of people wouldn't want to get into breeding because of all the negativity they hear about the legislation. Economic concerns, we're all finding that it costs twice as much to go to the grocery store. I can't believe when my dog food bill comes in anymore. It really isn't inexpensive to be a part of this sport. However, it is cheaper than horses. So, I always say, get a dog. So social acceptance in what we do, people do not understand what we do. We have to make it our business to tell these people what we do and why we love what we do. And I know I'm just repeating what everybody else up here on this stage has said this week. I'd love to clone Emily, because she just has so much energy. And, I wish we had all that energy all over again. So suggestions for creating moments for others. Each of us is involved in a club or association. I know everybody in here has to be. So, and it's within our sport. And so we need to seek out the newcomers that attend our events. I have people from my cluster here that know what that little sticker is. Can you see that sticker from back there? All right, when people come through our front door at our dog show, they get a little sticker. And it's not so they can go in and out of the dog show. It's so we can see them. Because we have 100,000 square feet in our main hall only. It has an upstairs, and I can stand upstairs and see the people with stickers on. So we really need to know who are our guests coming through our front door. This is a really... It's worked for us, so it's just an idea. And if you see those people with the stickers, if you don't have time to go talk to them, you can call somebody else on the phone and say, Virgine, can you go down and talk to these people? They just came in the front door and they have 4 kids, and we let them, and Barbara, Barbara back there, who's been very vocal this week when asking really good questions, she'll chase them down, to say, is this your first day at a dog show? Are you interested? What breed are you interested in? We have Meet the Breeds at our show as well. So anyway, obvious to everyone that they're a guest, therefore any interaction with them has the potential of creating a moment. So you basically want to take advantage of that. And if we usually have 2 shows a year, a fall show and a summer show, and we get quite a few people through our gate. So, it's really nice to be able to identify them. And we just started doing this a couple of years ago because I had another aha moment. In addition, we provide guests with a newsletter. We put together a newsletter from our cluster that tells people what the dog show is all about. I think I actually got this idea from Patty at her show because they did this a long time ago. And it tells what dogs are being shown at what time, what they can go see, some instructions on how to visit with the dogs and the people. And it's really a great newsletter that they can take home with them and that they can carry throughout the show with them to find out, what a dog show is all about. But the personal interaction with these people is what's really necessary because, you get somebody to look at a dog in the face and look in their eyes. And are they going to want to go home without a dog? No, they're going to find breeders and they're going to find that dog for themselves. So it's a lot different than watching the advertisements on the AKC TV streaming, which there's a great advertisements and they develop the interest, but if they will attend a dog show, it's even greater. As an exhibitor at a dog show, which a lot of us still are exhibitors, you have the opportunity to have a positive impact on others who may be interested in learning more about the sport. So when you see these people with these stickers on or someone asks you a question, it's always a really good idea to either, if you don't have the time, if you're showing your dog, because I know I had my Maltese all groomed up, and they'd come by and go, "Is that a white Yorkie?" And I would say, "No." But if you'll come back in about 30 minutes, I'll be happy to talk to you about this breed and, what it is and what it isn't and what a Yorkie really is. And then you can do some investigation with the Yorkie people and you can go talk to the Shih Tzu people if you like long-coated breeds, So it gives you an opportunity. But rather than saying, "I don't have time right now," which I've seen a lot of handlers do, I would say, give me 30 minutes, I'm an hour, I'm set up back over here. If you want to wander over there, I'm happy to let you pet the dogs, whatever. I mean, you can just keep the conversation going. As a judge, and I know there's a lot of judges in here too, you may have the opportunity to give new exhibitors to the sport a positive experience in the ring, whether they win or they lose. And to me, this is very important because we don't hire judges that aren't happy people that aren't going to be nice to our exhibitors at our dog shows. We really want the people to feel like they've had a good experience. They're paying a lot for an entry now anyway. And I mean, even if they win or they lose, if they say, "Can I talk to you about what you didn't like about my dog?" And I always say, "Well, why do you think I didn't like your dog? But let's talk later. Come back at the break right here and we'll have this conversation." Because if they got a third, it's not that you didn't like your dog, you liked it better than the other 4 that walked out of the ring. So they need some positive input. So that's the thing about being a judge is that you have so much of an opportunity to see so many different people during a day that you can have. And Larry and I were at a show last weekend in Kansas, and I'll bet you 50% of that 400 dog show was all new people. 50%. Or people that didn't know what they were doing, in the ring. They needed assistance. They needed some positive feedback. They needed you to laugh with them. They needed you to understand that you're having a good time in there. They needed to know that this is a family sport. They need to know a lot of different things, but you can project that in just a few minutes if you are a judge in the ring, or if you're an exhibitor and you're just talking to them. In addition, if you happen to see guests outside your ring with a sticker on and you have a break, you can ask them if they're enjoying the show or if they have any questions, or let them know you are interested in them. That's all they want, is to know somebody's interested in them and that this is going to be a fun place to be. So I really think that that's a really good opportunity for all of us, because all of us have been exhibitors. Not all of us are judges, but you've all been in the ring under a judge who doesn't act like they're very happy to be in there, right? So we just need to project that to other people, and maybe they'll follow suit. If you have a Meet the Breed, this is a great time for an event at your show that you can create the opportunity for guests to engage directly with the dogs and the breeders and the owner. So I think it works at our show. Obviously AKC has a beautiful Meet the Breeds in New York to get more people interested. But I think what I'm trying to say by each of these things that I'm talking about is that no matter what age. And Emily talked about the younger people coming up. What about that 25-year-old that just got out of college, that's ready, that hadn't been in juniors, that's ready to, oh, I'd like to help at a dog show, or I'm interested in a dog, or what do I do? You know, rather than going, you know, we really need to see, this is where we need to get younger people, juniors on up. You know, I mean, that's part of the problem we're having in our sport, is getting new people. So that's what I'm all about. I'm all about the aha moment and what caused you to be, you know, interested in this sport and to continue in this sport, because obviously it became your passion if you have stayed interested and you are interested in saving the sport, because I think we're all interested in saving the sport. Positive advertising is needed on every level, both national and local. For example, suggest that AKC put ads on during, Mark, you need to listen to this. Suggest that AKC put ads on during their nationally televised events with information about how to find and where to go to attend a local dog show. How many times are they looking for a dog show to go to, but they don't know where it is? Couldn't we have like a QR code that sends you to somewhere on a website for their local area that tells them where to look up a dog show to go to? Because none of our local breed clubs have all this money for advertisement. So if you're having an AKC show, why not have a little blurb? I love the commercials on there all the time. I mean, it talks about breeders, that's a really good thing, and this and that. But they need to know where to go to one of these things. Or the AKC streaming events. They need to know where they can go to find out where to go to a dog show if they're interested in a dog show. All right. Utilize organizations such as the NAIA to create a stronger voice together as much as possible. So I'm here to plug for Patty's NAIA. Please tell your kennel clubs to support this organization. We support this organization. Of course, I've known Patty for years, but there isn't any other organization that does as much for continuing our sport, fighting for us, doing everything they can to make it possible for us to keep the sport and keep ourselves safe in this sport. If you know a young person who would love to show in junior showmanship but does not have a dog to show, give them a dog to show. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and then mentor them. That's very true. So, yeah, I mean, my daughter had it easy. Well, not easy. I wouldn't groom her dog. I told her, I said, if you're going to be in juniors with the Maltese, guess what? You get to groom it. So she's like, okay. So she made the juniors finals at Westminster with a Belgian sheepdog bitch. Then she decided it was time to groom the Maltese to be in juniors. So, you know, sometimes the hair's not all it's cracked up to be. But anyway, if you know a young person, give them a dog and mentor them. Have competitions such as Pee Wee at your dog show. These are great competitions, and it's the kind of event that promotes interest from parents and kids alike. And it really does bring out something in people that you don't know existed, which when Larry started doing Pee-wees, he did it because somebody else couldn't do it. And he brought his chair out in the middle of the ring and sat down and had a little conference with all the Pee-wees on the floor. And I looked over there and I thought, oh my God. And then it ended up on Facebook. We're not on Facebook, but I got it sent to me. Here he is sitting there, you know, and I'm like, wow, I knew you were good with the grandkids, but I didn't know you'd be really, really good with the Pee-wees, so that's great. You know, there's talent in your club for somebody who can be, and you might not know it, that can be good with these really little kids, and they love it. It's really something that I've found has been really, really, really good for the parents and the kids at our show. Support your junior showmanship young people age 9 and under 18 at your show with trophies and recognition. It also helps to be outside the ring. I was really, really pleased this last weekend when I was doing juniors. And you know, I judge 5 groups now. And a lot of people are always saying, why are you still judging juniors? You know, it takes up a lot of your assignment. And I said, and I want it to. That's where our future is. You know, and I had 2 juniors. So I really appreciate all that goes into what goes with junior showmanship. But I really feel like I had a crowd. All of the exhibitors and handlers for the weekend, of course it was a local show and everybody kind of knew everybody, sat outside that ring and clapped for every junior. Those kids love that. That is the support and recognition that they need for doing what they're doing, whether they win or they lose. So I really think that's important if you can get a crowd outside the juniors ring to help support those juniors. It promotes and creates moments for the young people just getting started in the sport, as well as those who have been dedicated to it for many years. I'm amazed by the talent of these handlers that come into my junior showmanship ring. I mean, it's just amazing. But you got to make it fun and interesting and send the other kids home with a good feeling about it, too. So it's just one of those things that I think we can do as a club, just have people outside, or just you personally, go outside the juniors ring, clap for them, give them some support. So those are just a few of my suggestions with a little help from Larry, who is the cluster chairman for our Dallas shows in this area. We have a lot of our cluster members here today that I'm really pleased to see you guys here. But it's, just ideas. You guys probably have different ideas, and if you do, I would love to hear them.